Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. But first, I'm going to go ahead and give the medical disclaimer. So the information provided is for educational purposes and is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for medical advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare professional. We do not aim to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any illness or disease. And you should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. The information in this presentation has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration or any other medical body. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Dr. Dori Narbo, and I'm your host on today's call. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a clinical researcher and an author of several books. So welcome to our call, our Tuesday call with Clayton Thomas, who is the founder of Root. Hey, Clayton, hello.
Happy Tuesday.
Here we are on a brand new subject.
And what is today's subject, by the way?
Okay, well, today's subject is one of your favorite products. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, it's one of three.
It's one of three of your favorite products. Yes, it's ZeroIn, because we've never talked about ZeroIn. Yes,
we were just going over this earlier. Now we get to have some fun.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about ZeroIn. And as we know, last week we had Q&A. You will find this later on the YouTube under the Root Brands channel. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about ZeroIn. ZeroIn takes you to your happy place. It gives you energy and focus to direct your intention to become a reality. So whether you want to sleep, meditate, take a test, work out, or if you're in competition, ZeroIn will help you achieve what you focus on. But what is it? What is ZeroIn? So ZeroIn is an all-natural nootropic and neurotransmitter activator with a combination of active adaptogens and catalysts. And when taken orally, it allows the gut to produce two neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin. Actually, there's another one, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. So this synergistic combination is a strategic formulation designed to feed three target areas: the brain, and of course, within the brain, the pineal gland, and the heart and the stomach. So for example, in the gut, it helps to produce dopamine and serotonin naturally in an adaptogenic manner. So increased dopamine has been associated with improved mood, relaxed feelings, improved focus, concentration, mental clarity, and just feeling really good. And on the other hand, it's hard to find a bodily function that is not controlled by serotonin in some way. So these are two very important key neurotransmitters. So why is it different? Well, you've never had anything like this before in a high performance enhancing adaptogen, because it's never been available. It's never been done before. ZeroIn took 3 years to develop, 3 years in the making, and it uses the understanding of pharmacokinetics and a bioscience to deliver a product that is par excellence, a category creator. Basically, it's in a class of its own, which delivers incredible results, and as Clayton likes to say, outcomes. So, and as we know, biohacking should be done by biotech, right, Clayton? Oh, sorry.
There's no better way to do it. I mean, I don't think that there's any other option really when you get it down to it. How do you have people that really understand how to hack the biological aspects of the body? You need someone that's got a biotech background, in this world. You've got to understand quantum physics, and you've got to go beyond the physical, and especially in our world today. So this is, looks like you're talking about what it is. Honestly, it's the only way I can explain it is a little golden pill of greatness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what does it make you feel? How does it work? It just makes you great. Well, what does that mean to you? It's going to depend on your intention. So
exactly. And if that wasn't enough, ZeroIn is BSCG certified. Which stands for Banned Substance Control Group. It's the Olympic standard of drug testing to quality control of dietary supplements and natural products. So right now, we have more than a handful of Olympic athletes that are taking ZeroIn, and we can't tell you who they are because, of course, they want to have the edge.
Yeah, and that's the funny part is, I've had the question from people say, well, what athletes are taking it? And I'm like, well, actually, they don't want you to know.
Exactly.
And I think everything has a story, right? And everything has an explanation or a reason, and sometimes it's an excuse. In this instance, it's not an excuse. But the reason that we had to get banned substance approval, and you can see the BSCG certification, was not because we knew we created something so special and we wanted all these athletes taking it. It was because one of our colleagues is a professional football coach from the National Football League. So not real football that the rest of the world plays, but our American version of football. And his son got some products from my son, and he gave them to his dad, and he tried a capsule. Now, granted, he tried one capsule, and we got connected after a week of his experience, and we met at our men's group where he was speaking, and he followed up with me a couple of days later. He's like, "You're that dude." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the dude with the pills." And he's like, "We need to chat." I'm like, "Oh, great. I'm getting sued by an NFL coach." And we sat down. He's like, "Look, I get pitched on everything because of what I do. This stuff is amazing and it works. And is it legal?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's actually legal. There's no banned substances in it. We only use 7 ingredients, which you can see on the label." And he's like, No. Is it banned substance free? Can you prove it?" I'm like, "Sure, I can prove it. Let me get a hold of the 2 governing bodies, and let me figure out which one the best to work with is, and what we can do." So we sent the samples to, BSCG, and they came back. They're like, "Yeah, you're good." And then the outcomes started to come in, and people, what we've seen for outcomes in athletes, whether it's from teenagers and kids to collegiate to professional to elite, is, it's been stated before. It's actually very well published and proven that high levels of dopamine improve performance in many different aspects. And when you deal with elite athletes, they don't want you to know if they have an edge. And it's terrible marketing of trying to explain to these guys. It's like, you could help a lot of people if you talk about this. They're like, "No, we don't want to tell anybody yet." I'm like, "All right." It is a weapon. I mean, you are, it's like we've seen, if you can change someone's reaction time significantly, not minuscule changes, but significant changes, as an elite athlete, you have a competitive edge that is typically not acquired through legal means. And it's really, really unique.
And, you don't need to be an elite athlete to take advantage of what ZeroIn can offer. Clayton, why don't you tell everyone about what happened in Canada regarding ZeroIn? Because I think that this is really interesting, and it speaks to the formulation and how pure it is.
And so different countries have different certification processes when it comes to nutritional supplements. And what's interesting is the United States is actually the most lax. And that's why there's so much trash that's sold here in the United States as supplements and such, because there's really not a lot of governance over quality. I think there's going to be a lot more here shortly. But in Canada, they have Health Canada, which oversees not just their FDA aspect, but also anything that comes into the country as a nutritional supplement. And you can move some stuff across the border without having an NPN number, as it's called, natural products number. But eventually they'll call it into question if you're doing enough volume. And cleanslate is actually the first zeolite derived product ever have an NPN number. Restore got its NPN number even before we put it on the market. But ZeroIn had an issue. Because when we submitted it initially, and we submitted all 3 of them simultaneously, the first 2 were approved in the first 2 weeks. We got those done really quickly, and this was months ago. But they came back with ZeroIn and they said, you know, we have a question about the ingredients and why you're using some of these ingredients. So we went back and I had to go to our labs and pull up the sources of each ingredient, of why we were using, you know, pine bark extract and why we're using this version of Mucuna pruriens, which is a velvet bean seed extract and such, because they'd never seen anything like this. So we provided those answers. We submitted the information again, and they came back a month ago. And this has been going on for like 4 months, which is not normal. They came back and said, look, we have another question. We have a problem. I'm like, and my colleague and my consultant that handles all this for me, she's like, you're going to laugh about this and you're going to use this for marketing. And I'm going to tell you to use it for marketing because there's a reason behind it. She's like, let me explain this to you. They've just come back and asked why you're using such high quality ingredients. I'm like, I'm like, hold on a second here. I don't understand what you're asking me. And I was like, are they actually asking to get clarification on why we're using really high quality concentrations of ingredients and why we're doing it? She's like, yes, that's what they want to know. They've never seen a nutritional supplement with this concentration and this high quality of ingredients. And this is what's important. Curcumin is very well known, and curcuminoids are very well established, you know, and there's so many different supplements and products on the market that sell turmeric extract and curcuminoids. We use a 95% pure curcumin extract to maximize the amount of curcuminoids that are available because of its benefits. If you look on the open market, in the retail market, you'll see that on average, other supplements that are sold are anywhere from 70 to 82% curcuminoids. There's a difference between 70 and 80% and 95. Right? It gives you, and especially when you're putting something in a capsule, and I'll hit on this a little bit more when we get to it. But in order to get the impact that we need, you have to have quality. In order to have a quality product, you have to start with quality ingredients. So we had to explain to them that, look, we use 95% pure curcuminoids, and we use 95, I think it was 95 or 98% pure proanthocyanidins in the pine bark extract because it gives us better outcomes. And she was laughing. She's like, that's what I'll go back to them with. They couldn't understand why we would use such good ingredients. I'm like, because it works. So that's been the delay, but it was interesting that we actually got pushback because the product is, as the Canadian government said, too good. So it's the process.
And there was also something, wasn't there something also with the velvet bean?
Yeah, it was the same thing with the velvet bean seed, the velvet bean extract, and the concentration of the velvet bean extract is known. Mucuna pruriens is known to produce L-dopa, and it's actually. So Restore and Clean Slate are approved as a class 1 nutritional supplement. ZeroIn is going to be a class 3, which is basically one classification less than drugs. Because when we talk about the term nutraceutical, we are creating, that term's been used a little bit in the past. Most people aren't familiar with it. But these are 3 products that truly are nutraceutical. They are, 1, because of who made them, 2, how she made them, but 3, what they're capable of doing and how the quality of the ingredients are combined. They're doing things that even drugs don't do. So it is unique in its design. It is unique in its outcomes. And like Dory's already mentioned, it is a performance enhancement product of no comparison. And it's hard because I've never been one to try to hype stuff, right? And there's so much of it, especially in this space where you have Alpha Brain, you have the Neurohacker Collective, you have all these different nootropic products that are being sold, and they're marketed for having 30 different ingredients in them, and you got to take 6 or 7 pills, and people, market the hell out of the importance of, what we want for cognitive function and slamming other stimulants and everything. This is something that is so completely different that you just let it do what it does, right? It's like having a Ferrari or a Maserati and you're selling those cars. There's a specific type of person that's going to come see you that's looking for it. It's usually, maybe someone that came as a referral because they're like, hey, you know what, I want performance and I'm willing to spend a little bit more, but that's a whole other thing. You don't have to spend more. You'll actually spend less. But when you test drive those cars, you typically are like, I want that. And that's just it, is if you take this stuff for a test drive, it's something different. And, Dory, like you hit on, your performance, and this is the beautiful aspect of intention. Whether you want to get a bunch of work done on the computer, if you want to sit down and study, if you want to read a book, if you want to write a book, if you want to go compete in sports, if you want to have an amazing night with your spouse or your significant other and have it be more than you've ever imagined, or if you want to go to sleep and have the most restful sleep you've ever imagined, it's all the same capsule. It's how you control it. So we're probably going to hit on that a little bit. So go ahead.
Okay. So these are for the new people. These are cut sheets and brochures online. You can find them. Let me see. I'll give you the address here. This is where you would go. Files, therootbrands.com. Okay, let's dive into some of the ingredients. So the first ingredient is N-acetyl L-tyrosine, is used as nootropic because it acts as a precursor for the important brain neurotransmitter dopamine. And it is actually the preferred form of the supplement tyrosine due to its bioavailability, easy absorption, and thus providing more effective activity. So what this does, it helps to support the brain for your working memory, cognitive flexibility, logical reasoning, even like mathematical processing, deep thinking. And then also for stress, it protects from negative effects of stress on cognitive performance, protects for adverse behavioral responses and environmental stress. And also it protects from stress-induced increases in your blood pressure. And it actually works in synergy with the mucunipurians as well, the velvet bean. And then we have anhydrous caffeine. This works as a catalyst. And then we have L-theanine. This is an amino acid derived from tea leaves. It also can come from a mushroom called the Boletus badius mushroom. I don't know if you ever heard of that, Clayton.
No, but any mushroom that has badius in it is a bad mushroom. I kind of like that one.
So it's absorbed by the small intestine and crosses the blood-brain barrier. The amino acid is structurally related to glutamic acid, a neurotransmitter in the brain, and increases dopamine levels in the brain. And you got to remember that, all these ingredients, these are stacks. And again, 3 years in the making. It's not like you go to the lab and you decide to, I'm going to put this together, I'm going to put that together and try different things. I mean, this is really special. The Journal of Biological Psychology said that a combination of L-theanine and caffeine improved cognitive function and alertness. So L-theanine, again, aids in stress relief by producing this relaxing effect. So you can already see that L-theanine and caffeine are going together, just like on the last slide, the caffeine or the anhydrous caffeine is a catalyst. And then we have velvet bean seed. So this has been shown to have anti-diabetic, antidepressant effects, stress reducer, and even anti-Parkinson's, and is a has neuroprotective effects. In addition, antioxidant activity has been demonstrated in vitro by its ability to scavenge radicals and reactive oxygen species. What's interesting to note is that when you're using velvet bean with pine bark in the right way, it's able to deliver significant results to neural transmission and performance and the body's ability to resonate. However, you have to use the right sourcing, the right ingredients in the purest form, which I think this is what Clayton was hitting on earlier. And then we go to pine bark, and pine bark, I'm sure that many of you have heard of this product before. It improves alertness, sustained attention, memory, boosts your mental performance, your mood, reduction in anxiety. Again, it boosts athletic performance. It helps with asthma, and it even makes your skin look good. And in 2017, there was a study investigated blood markers on inflammation of 1,633 adults, age 53 on average. And a follow-up 24 years later found that higher levels of inflammation were associated with poor episodic memory and reduced volume of the hippocampus. So like as you age, your hippocampus is actually shrinking. So this is the hippocampus is a region, it's a brain region associated with memory and other areas of the brain associated with Alzheimer's disease. And then we have turmeric. So UCLA researchers say that turmeric improves memory and mood. And new research that was published in the Journal of Neuroscience has shown that turmeric actually inhibits the formation of amyloid proteins, which is the author here says that this is a key molecule for the development of therapeutics for Alzheimer's disease. So it also can enhance memory, focus, concentration, and cognition in the elderly. And there are several mechanisms of action with turmeric, and it takes on the body to prevent cognitive impairment. So by fighting the free radicals in the body, it shows potential to preserve the neuronal integrity, inhibit the progression of cognitive decline. Talked about the amyloid protein that actually inhibits the formation of amyloid protein. I mean, this is just like an amazing formulation.
Did somebody ask a question about amyloid plaque?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where did I miss that one? Let's keep going and we'll hit on that one.
Okay. Oh, and another way that turmeric can improve brain function is by reducing the neurotoxicity induced by fluoride, which of course we've had that talk before, right? So we know that this is well known that fluoride has adverse consequences on mental health and other core biological functions. And turmeric, for memory impairment and brain fog reduction, there was a notable reversal of impairment of the hippocampus neurogenesis, followed by increases in brain-derived neurotropic factors and serotonin receptors. So those two go together. So these results suggest that turmeric may help overcome stress-induced abnormalities in the brain that can inhibit cognitive function. I mean, it's such an amazing formulation because you see how they're stacking on top of each other, right?
Well, and we'll hit on that a little bit here in a minute, I think, once you get through the rest of them, and we can talk about the importance of stacking and how that goes. So we've had many conversations about this one, haven't we?
Well, it's back again. So, vitamin D is a neuroprotective, regulates the immune system and helps with calcium balance, as we know. It also is involved by regulating many genes important to brain function. So although vitamin D is thought of as a vitamin, it acts as a neurosteroid and helps important roles in the brain. So scientists, with the support of multiple types of research, have linked the hormone-like vitamin to some disorders throughout the body, such of course as like cardiovascular disease, cancer, stroke, metabolic disorders, including diabetes, cognitive impairment, dementia, psychosis, and autism have been added to the list as well known in the interchange of decreased vitamin D levels. And also, as we know, in the older population, it's unusually high risk for vitamin D deficiency due to the decreased subcutaneous synthesis, of the skin, and then of course the dietary intake of vitamin D. So, vitamin D receptors are widespread in the brain tissue, and the vitamin D's biological active form is D3. And this has shown neuroprotective effects, including the clearance of guess what? Amyloid plaques.
Say it isn't so.
I mean, didn't I just not mention that in 3 different ingredients that's in this stack? So, and also recent studies have confirmed an association between cognitive impairment, dementia, and vitamin D deficiency, which we've gone over vitamin D so many times, and I'm sure you'll hear it again. So how should I take ZeroIn? Well, it's recommended to take on an empty stomach. But I have to say, when you take it on empty stomach, I know when I first started taking it, I mean, I couldn't take it on an empty stomach. I can do it now, but before I couldn't do that. 1 pill in the morning, and then when you get going, you can take another one in the afternoon. Some find taking 2 in the morning makes for a great day. And then we've also found that 1 pill can provide benefits for up to 5 hours. It also is recommended, not to exceed more than 4 capsules a day. And some people, they might need to start off with just half a capsule when they get going. Did you want to talk about that, Clayton?
Yeah, I'll hit on a couple of those things because I'm, and some feedback. The dosage part's interesting because everybody will find what works for them, right? Because based on your lifestyle, based on your exposure, based on the stress that goes on in and around you, right? Which is really important because of the impacts of cortisol and how cortisol is actually created. So you'll figure out what works best for you. For me, I take 2 to 3 capsules usually in the morning, and that gets me through the day. In most instances, you feel amazing for about 5 hours. Some people it's a little bit longer than that. It can be up to like 10 to 12. But you just have to figure out where you want to be. And the important part is, as Dory's really hit on, there's no negatives, right? It's all positive. So how much of that do you want? And I think what's most important, and granted, we have the recommendations not to exceed more than 4 in a day. And you just feel absolutely amazing. But you got to play with it yourself. You might like 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. You might like 2. Yeah. So you really just have to figure out what works best for you. And if 1 or 2, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon is good, good is good. Great is something that you might want to try, and just play with it. If you think 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon is good for you, try. And not to say that, oh yeah, pump it, but try 2 at once. See how your body feels and how you respond to it. And you can play with this because dopamine and serotonin are the 2 most powerful neurotransmitters we make, and they make everything better. So how much do you want? How much do you, and it's this important question, how much do you want access to? Because it's completely intentionally controlled. But keep going, because you probably have more.
I do have a little bit more. So what should I expect? Well, helps to regenerate your microbiome, improve your immune response. Of course, balance the production of dopamine and serotonin, helps to optimize your sleep and your circadian rhythm. I know, Clayton, you've talked a lot about that before.
It's actually we've clinically proven, I don't know, there's a patent behind it. And we haven't really talked about this much, but if you use a capsule in the morning around 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning, it is designed to reset your circadian rhythm. What does that mean? The sleep-wake cycle that we talk about, the importance of vitamin D production and such, this will reset your entire system. I mean, and that's why when we talk about control, alt, delete, it's the alt aspect of the scenarios. It'll completely reset how you function, which aids to, I don't know if it's on there, but weight loss.
Weight loss? Did I hear weight loss? I'm still waiting. Okay. Okay. It enhances your mood, relieves stress and tension. It improves your endocrine function. Oh, and your sexual health. Focus, increases focus, mental acuity, and of course, cognitive functioning. Again, focus and concentration, reduces the risk of hypertension, heart failure, and metabolic syndrome.
If you look at the heart rate variability results of what Dr. Rao has done, if you go back and look at them, you have a client that is taking 200 milligrams of caffeine, right? It's anhydrous caffeine, and this is what's important for people that ask the question of the difference of the two. Taking 200 milligrams of caffeine does not reduce hypertension, and it sure doesn't help you relax. But because of how these are stacked and what the anhydrous caffeine does, you can see in the analysis that Dr. Rao did on the heart rate variability that the individual's heart rate, right, just their regular heart rate, not their variability, which is where all the real fun analytics come in, but their heart rate doesn't change. So that's what's crucial to identify, is this does actually make you more smooth, more calm, and it doesn't affect your cardiovascular function as Dory takes her 5th restore of the day.
Sorry, can you see me?
No, I cannot see you.
Oh my God.
See, but this gets into the other part of why this is fine. So keep going.
Oh, okay.
Notice I'm not giving you a red flag moment either. How you like that, Claire?
Red flag me, Claire. Okay. So how quick does it start working? Right. Everybody wants to know that because they want to feel something, right? So ZeroIn usually starts working about 10 to 20 minutes.
10 to 20 minutes, but everybody's a little bit different because I just was doing an interview with Jill and Shanna before this and had some amazing testimonials. And one of the things that we've seen, because of the amount of stress that people are under, and that we are so dopamine and serotonin depleted and deficient, that if you start with a capsule in the morning and maybe 1 in the morning or 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, or even 2 at once to start with, I wouldn't recommend that to people because you might get a little bit too ramped that you don't know what to do with it. But sometimes it can take a couple days of use to get your peak plasma levels up to reach that steady state, which Dory can hit on as well, are pharmaceutical terminology it's designed for drugs, because you have to get these substances into your system where they can reach an effective amount. But in this aspect, you've got to get your gut producing enough dopamine and serotonin to get you up to normal. And then when you're at normal, after, whatever time that takes, 2-3 days, and then you start to find what exceptional starts to get into and what good feels like and what amazing can feel like. So they'll hit, as I say, in about 10 minutes now. So I think this is an important part to hit on, right? Is ZeroIn on alone, Clean Slate alone, Restore alone. Each of them are massively impactful individually. When you combine them, and especially, well, and it's really all three, but if you take Clean Slate, because Clean Slate will decalcify the pineal gland, right? Because it removes fluoride, and it does so really quickly because the pineal gland gets a lot of blood flow. And the body knows decalcifying the pineal gland, if it's capable of doing so, is insanely important because it connects us to light in all aspects. But as we've touched on before in the autism piece that Dory and Dr. Rao put together, which is honestly the most amazing piece of information and detail put together on the topic of the spectrum of autism, ADD, ADHD, and such, Asperger's. I've never seen a better presentation on it. And what's important is this: serotonin converts to melatonin through your pineal gland, which allows you to sleep. So you don't need melatonin supplements. You don't need a new mattress. You don't need a new pillow. You need your body to work properly, clean up your pineal gland, open it up, let it start working, allow your gut to start producing the dopamine and serotonin that it's capable of producing. And then through your intention, when you're ready to sleep, the serotonin and dopamine actually shifts in your body because your body's controlling how much of which one it wants and when. The serotonin converts to melatonin, you get to go to sleep. But there's an interesting pathway that I wasn't aware of until Dory and Stefan went over this. And it kind of goes back to Dory's mushroom reference, right? But in a different aspect. There's a lot of research that's being done on psilocybin and psychedelic mushrooms because of their ability to produce DMT. Well, most things the body can produce if it needs it and if it's beneficial. DMT is actually one of those, and Dr. Rao actually touches on it in the presentation. But extra serotonin will actually convert to DMT in the brain. And you know what that causes? Dreams. So it'll put you in a dream state. So the same product that during the day is going to help you relax and be more focused and more attentive and zone out and feel amazing, but at night is going to allow you to get into a restful realm of sleep that you've probably never imagined. And that's really the crucial part. And Dory, to hit on the stacking component, well, I'll hit on two things that you said. One, the stack. That's the secret sauce. But when you combine 5 actives and 2 catalysts, and you use not just the quality, right? The quality is crucial because if you actually look at the packaging and you look at the label, you won't see many additives. And there's a reason for that. There's no room in the capsule. If you see a supplement that other ingredients has a list of a whole bunch of stuff from silicon dioxide and all these other things, they're excipients. They're designed to add space because there's not enough ingredients to fill the capsule. So they add filler to fill up the capsule. ZeroIn is so unique. We had to find a lab that had the ability to actually compress the ingredients into a small capsule, which is actually a drug facility. It's actually the manufacturer for Centrum. So if you want to know what level of production we have capability for, it's nice to have a manufacturing facility that's like, if you need 4 million pills a day, it's not a problem. But we had to find a facility that had the production capability to actually put all of these ingredients inside a little capsule. And when you take the highest quality ingredients possible, but then you find the perfect combination of each one of those ingredients. This is not a matter of, like Dory said, just taking a bunch of ingredients, doing some reading online and saying, okay, all of these ingredients are good for you. They all have their own properties. So let's just mix them all together and not understand how each one of them can synergistically work together. You go, okay, well, then you've got the rest of the industry. But if you, with biotech precision, look at, if we use this and this and this, and we use this amount of this and this amount of this and this amount of this, we get this. But if we use this amount and we change that one and we change this one, we're going to get even greater results. That's what took so long to get this right. That's the secret, is quality, concentration, and proper combination. And when you have that mix, it's like nothing we've ever seen. And that's why it's my favorite pill ever. So should we talk about amyloid plaque real quick?
Okay, let's hit on amyloid plaque. This is good. So, because I thought it was interesting how all like, what was it? Like 3 different ingredients, you know.
I'll address the amyloid plaque issue. And it's important to understand the derivative and where amyloid plaque comes from and what it's known to create. Amyloid plaque, or tau, the other word, amyloid plaque is what causes chronic toxic encephalopathy, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which if you're in impact sports and such, you become familiar with. dementia, Alzheimer's, and I think they can throw ALS in there, are conditions that are derived from the production of amyloid plaque. Scientific fact, can't argue it. Chronic toxic encephalopathy is the clinical definition behind dementia and Alzheimer's. So what does chronic toxic encephalopathy mean? It means that neurotoxic heavy metals, aluminum, lead, and mercury, will over time conglomerate together in the brain to block neurons and create this plaque or tau. That's what disrupts neurological function. Now, if you're younger and you suffer a concussion or an impact injury that shakes up your brain, and it's important to understand that if you have a concussion, it is not brain damage. Because if you actually had an impact and you damaged your brain, it's likely it would kill you, or you would have a traumatic brain injury, which many of our military professionals have from actually bomb blasts, right? That's where trauma comes in. But what happens in a concussion is a shaking of the brain inside the fluid, you know, inside in your skull where it's protected by fluid. And you have an increase in ionic activity. So it's a lot like a bruise where you have an impact in it and it bruises a little bit, and you can see the healing process that goes on in that area. The same thing happens in your head. You have an increase in ionic activity, electrical activity, magnetic activity, because your brain is trying to heal. Well, heavy metals are attracted to that increase in ionic activity, like a magnet. So they can be drawn there earlier on in process, which means that plaque can build up at an earlier age. Instead of the typical onset of these issues being seen at 60, 70, 80 years old, you can see them at 20, 30, 40. And that's where you have the diagnosis of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is the amyloid plaque built up in athletes from concussions. It's not a concussion issue. It's a neurotoxicology issue. It's what Clean Slate is designed to do, to clean us up, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day what the primary cause is. If you don't address the primary cause, if you don't address the root cause of the problem, the etiology, you're never going to see improvements, right? We can do everything we want to try to address symptoms. It's the same thing with everything else we see in the world today. And I'm going to go off on this a little bit on the quantum shift, my quantum shift show. But if you don't address the underlying issues, you're never going to achieve greatness. And that's what you see in combination with Clean Slate, with Restore and ZeroIn, combined, it's force magnification, right? You have this amazing function when they all come together. You can try one of them. You can pick which one you want to try to start with. If you're saying, well, I just want to do one of them, great, pick one, because they'll all work differently. They'll all do amazing things individually, but if you use all three of them together, they will change how you function. What we're doing is putting the body in a position where it can start to function in a healthy manner. A healthy body doesn't have issues because it will regenerate. It'll take care of itself. It cleans itself. It becomes amazing. That's what we're doing.
Wow, look at Claire's skin. She just looks so
She looks amazing. I mean,
how does she get that dewy
continues
look
to
on her
look
face?
younger and just more amazing. I don't.
She must be taking a whole box of Restore.
Claire, how much are you using now?
About half a packet a day.
Just orally and then a little bit on your face?
I don't put it on my face. Well, I have in the beginning, but no, that's just what it's doing to my skin.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
what do you have on right now? Do you have anything on your face? Like,
I just got moisturizer and a little bit of BB, the BB, which is very light foundation.
yeah, that's insane because you're like glowing. So
Well, restore, it added with restore. I think my body just loves it, so I need very little.
Claire and I were going through pictures, look like, like, right, Claire? I mean, because like, I looked at pictures of myself like back in 2010.
yeah, you're like, oh, wow.
It looked this.
Yeah, we really said, oh, wow. Doreen, your skin looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's I was looking at some of the videos that we shot last year, or that I shot, and before when I was developing COVID hair and I hadn't figured out how to do my hair, which is a whole other issue, right? I looked horrible, but even my skin, of what it looks like now compared to like last year before we had Restore and all the stress from everything going on, I was like,
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and end the call. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week. And then next week, of course, Clayton, like you say, we're gonna do guys and girls.
Guys,
right? Bye-bye.